Rise from your grave.
Hello Quakers, and welcome back to another edition of the Quake Grave. You know, today is a very special day, and for those of you following along with Quake Champions, you know that the beta has been going on for a little over a month now, but it's been closed to only people who have had access to it. But starting today, it is now open, at least for this weekend, so if you haven't played it, you now have the chance to just download the client and check it out. So do that if you're interested, because they definitely have a good game going here. And I'm allowed to say that now because the NDA is finally lifted as well. So the non-disclosure agreement is now gone. We can stream stuff, we can show off video that we captured of the beta and everything, and people can stream it. So even if you can't, don't have the chance to actually play it, you're going to get the chance to see it in several videos coming up here, I'm sure. Now, I wanted to go into my thoughts about this. The beta, like I said, I didn't get a lot of time with it, but I do think it's a good game. I was able to play the first 2 weekends of the closed beta. Since then, I have not had much time at all to dedicate it to it on the weekends. We've been busy with this other thing that I'm going to bring up, which is my board game. It's now completely finished. It's available to buy. And for those of you who remember, I did bring it up last year. It's called Colossal Blob. Now, if you do want a copy of this, it's available at colossalblob.com. Just go there, hit the buy now button, and add it to cart. You can buy 1 copy, several copies, whatever you want. Or at least go to the site and check it out. Tell me what you think of it. But we have been super busy with that being released just within the past week or two. And on top of that, I'm also going to be out of town for the next week and a half here. So the next few episodes of the Quake Grave. Don't worry, guys. I got you set up on some Quake Grave episodes here. I got them in stock, so they will be going live for you to watch. But you know, regardless, I've been very busy, not having a lot of time to dedicate to play Quake Champions. But within the first 2 weekends, I can definitely give some thoughts on it, because I don't believe that it's changed a whole hell of a lot. We know that nowadays betas almost seem like they're just kind of there as a formality. They're there to get people familiar with it. They're probably tweaking little things here and there, but the overall gameplay doesn't really change a whole lot. So, I don't know, maybe it'll be different this time, but I have a few notes here I'd like to go over. And the first is that the gameplay is definitely fun. It's a great little game. It feels good. The weapons feel pretty good. I will say that there were some problems playing the game where, and I saw a lot of other people posting about this in the closed beta forum, about hitbox detection, where some characters are a lot bigger than others, and the smaller characters have the ability to dodge and they have the ability to not get hit as much because the hitbox is so much smaller. We're talking about characters, like Slash, where she's a very tiny character, and when you're trying to shoot at her, she can easily, dodge back and forth. She even has a move where she can duck down and crouch for a little bit to get away from you, but still moving at full speed on her rollerblades. And that can be very maddening. Now, since the few weeks that it's been live, I don't know if they have adjusted this, I don't know if things have changed, but I do remember a lot of people posting about that, and I can relate to that. During my time with the beta, I only had access rather to one character, and that was Ranger. Now, a lot of you are going to be okay with that because, hey, it's Ranger, it's the Quake 1 Marine, but at the same time, I would have loved the ability to play as the other characters. They only opened up all the characters for anybody to play any of them last weekend, and you did have the ability to unlock other characters as you were playing it, but I just didn't have the time to dedicate to racking up all of the in-game currency to unlock all these different things, So it didn't happen for me. But what I'm going to speak to is basically what I played with Ranger. So when Ranger was trying to shoot littler characters, it came off as a little tough at times to hone hone your aim in to get in on these smaller characters. Other characters too that were a lot faster, like Anarchy, for instance. Not only is the guy fast, but he has the ability to completely change his direction in midair, as one of his passive abilities will say in his trailer. And this can be pretty irritating too, because part of Quake was always predicting where enemies were going to land, or where they were going to bounce up to if they were bounced somewhere. And with a few of these characters, the way they control and everything, it kind of takes out that prediction, because people can, at least with Anarchy, they can just change direction in mid-flight. which, good for the player who's playing as Anarchy, good for them, they can dodge, but for you, it's kind of like, in vanilla Quake 3, or even all the way to Quake 1 and Quake 2, you kind of had an idea where the character was going to land if they got launched, so you could immediately throw a rocket, that way to help take them out. And speaking of rockets, that kind of leads me into my next point. I feel like the rocket launcher is pretty weak in Quake Champions. You expect to grab the rocket launcher and do some damage. You hit somebody, with some splash damage at their feet, and then you hit them again, splash damage against the wall or close to them or whatever. 2 rockets usually would do the job, right? In this, I don't know if it's just because I'm a crappy aimer, which it could be. My aim could be completely crappy. But I just felt like the rocket launcher has no real oomph to it, no real power behind it. You always sought out the rocket launcher in Quake. It was like kind of the staple weapon that you always wanted to grab because it was so powerful. And in this, it doesn't feel all that powerful. In fact, a lot of the weapons, I don't know if it's how they feel or whatever, but the only weapon that I felt like really was doing something was the railgun. And of course, with the railgun, you got to do a direct hit on that. But shooting the railgun felt good. A lot of the other weapons, I don't know. They don't feel great. I think that the 2 best are the railgun and the super shotgun. When you find the super shotgun and you take someone out with that, it feels good. But the nail gun, I feel like, is really underutilized and just not a great weapon. The machine gun because you have your normal gun and then you can get an upgraded machine gun in there. It's powerful. You can take someone out pretty quick with it, but it doesn't feel powerful. It doesn't have a good feel to it. And that's what I feel about the rocket launcher too. You shoot a rocket launcher, you expect somewhat of a bigger explosion. You expect more damage to be done with it. And I don't know, it wasn't doing it for me. I don't know if they need to make it more powerful but offer less ammo with it. I'm not sure, but something on that needs to be tweaked. Now, it's always hard to tell from a beta, but from what I can tell, I'm not really sure about the character abilities. They seem fun and they offer some variety, but at the same time, I'm not sure that they're really balanced. During the beta, as I mentioned, I was only able to play as Ranger, so I only got to experience, using one character's abilities, and that was his teleport orb thing that you could shoot out, and when you actually hit the button on the other side, he'll teleport over to it, which is it's a cool idea, but I don't know. I didn't find it to be all that helpful, and it could be that maybe I'm using it wrong, maybe I'm using it incorrectly. I don't really know, but there was one moment where I shot it down a hallway, and there were like 2 or 3 people fighting down at the hallway, and I shot it down there, and I teleported, and I was able to telefrag the guy, and that felt really good. But to be quite honest, how often is that really going to happen in a deathmatch? Like, I played, I don't know how many matches. Let's just say like I played about 20 matches of Quake Champions, right? And that happened once, and every game I played as Ranger. So if that happens 1 out of every 20 games, it's going to be really special. It's going to feel really good when you do it, but you can't use that as a tactic when it feels that random, So judging from his ability and fighting against all these other abilities from other characters, it really didn't feel even. There were some characters whose abilities felt like they were way better than yours. You didn't feel as powerful, and I know they try to balance that by giving certain characters higher health than other characters, and the ability to pick up more armor, that kind of thing. But that doesn't feel all that important in a game that's supposed to be super fast-paced, right? In a game that's super fast-paced like this, it's Twitch, FPS game, you're not going to be focusing on how much health you have. You're going to focus on the fight at hand, and then look at your health after the fight at hand, and try to gravitate over to where you can grab some health. You're not really going to be calculating in your head like, well, this guy may have 120 health while I have 80, so I have to balance this and do that and make up for this, For me, anyway, you're just thinking about the kill at the moment. You don't have time to really make those calculations. And maybe that's just me, but deathmatch, it's more about figuring out where they're going to go. It's more about predictability, if that makes sense. And that's the second time I mentioned that. So you learn the map, you learn the predictable behavior, then you find some behavior that's unpredictable, then you adapt to that, and then you start doing it yourself. You learn how to do that on your side so you can be unpredictable. There's a lot of different ways that you can take this. But all in all, the character abilities, I don't think they're bad, but I think they need to be tweaked and a little bit more balanced. Because there are definitely some of the characters whose abilities feel pretty weak compared to other abilities where the characters just feel like they're unstoppable with them. You know, it's great that all of them have a cooldown, but the cooldown is so long, some of the abilities don't even feel like they're that useful either. A lot of times with Ranger, to be quite honest, I forgot that I had it a lot of the times. I'm so busy, you know, being focused on killing people that I'm looking down and I'm like, oh, right, I do have that teleport orb that I could use, and then maybe during matches I would use it like maybe once or twice when I remembered I had it, and then when I would use it, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that didn't do anything. So, I don't know. I'm very back and forth on the abilities. Maybe if I played as some of the other characters, had a chance to do that, it would be different. But I didn't. So with my limited amount of time that I played with it, you know, I'm not so sure on the character abilities. Now, another thing during the match is that a lot of the pickups are color-coded, and I think this makes it easier for the player because they can see, like, armor, big bright green thing that's, you know, across the way, or rocket launcher, big red spinning thing over this way. But personally, I'm not a big fan of the look that they gave these. You know, I remember in Quake 3, they sort of had like a glimmer. They may have had like a shell around them, you know, like a green shell that you know you were going to pick it up, but it still looked like an armor shard of some kind, you know. In this, it just looks like a green rectangle. And the same goes for the weapons. The weapons should have like a rocket launcher. It should look like a rocket launcher, but maybe have a red gleam or highlight around it, as opposed to like it just being colored red, because when it's colored red, it just doesn't... It looks like Fisher-Price stuff, you know, and I play... Don't get me wrong, I play a lot of games that have cutesy graphics and stuff like that, but this is Quake. I mean, stuff needs to be gritty, it needs to be raw-looking. If you want things to, you know, be easier to see, work on an outline, a red gleam, a red shell, that kind of thing. So that way the model of the rocket launcher actually sticks out. And, when I'm going to pick up other weapons that are, like, bright orange, I can't help but go, like, oh, This doesn't feel gritty. This just feels like, here's this Fisher-Price Nerf gun. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel tough. And not everything has to be tough, but I mean, this is Quake. Quake has got to be tough. It's gritty. It's rough as nails, you know? And that's where it's at. I really think that that's something they need to adjust and tweak when the game is going on later on. Because, yeah, it kind of takes me out of it. I know it's something really simple, but it really takes me out of it. Another thing that takes me out of it are the character voices, and it's not so much the voices themselves all the time. Some of the voices I think are bad, but not all of them. Some of them are good. I actually think Ranger's voice is fine. I think that other characters like Clutch the Robot, you know, Galena, you know, I think they sound great. But a lot of the characters have really bad lines. Again, the three characters I mentioned, Ranger, Clutch, Galena, from what I've seen, they seem to have really fine, you know, decent lines that actually relate to their character, you know, tell a little bit of why they're there, where they're going, character goals, character ambitions, that kind of thing. You can tell a small story with each character within the game that doesn't have much of a story, that's fine. But a lot of the other characters that they first did character trailers for didn't have much going on at all, and they felt really, really cheesy to me. You know, the character Shield Bearer, I think he looks like a really cool character, but I don't really care for his lines or his voice. Anarchy, don't really care for his lines or his voice, you know, and then when you start hearing all of these through the trailers, and then you hear it in the game and everything, it just kind of cheapens the game a little bit, in my opinion. So I don't know what they need to do to adjust that, whether they need to take the silliness out of it. Take the internet lingo crap out of it. That is so overdone. It doesn't need to be done. It has no place in Quake. Let the player take care of that, okay? Let the game be the game. Let the characters act like they're actually in an eternal arena where they just fight for an eternity, right? Don't let them, you know, don't have a robot kill a guy and go wrecked. Like, come on. That's so cheesy, so lame. Can't get behind it. It needs to change. And the last thing I want to talk about here are the unlocks in the game. Now, the unlocks weren't really doing much for me. I mean, given I only reached maybe, what was it, level 4 or 5, somewhere around there, so I got to open up a few crates or packs or whatever you want to call them to get new things. But the things that were unlocking just weren't that exciting for me. Out of none of them did I unlock, you know, a new skin or new characters or whatever. I got a few, like, armor shaders and that kind of thing, but none of it was, like, super impressive. And that's the thing, and you know, you have to make the comparison because the game is adding a little, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, but a lot of, you know, Overwatch influence into it with the crates, with the character abilities in there, and a few other things too. But you know, when you're playing Overwatch, there are some crappy unlocks, and when you unlock a crate, you're gonna sometimes get the crap end of the stick. But majority of the time in Overwatch, I have unlocked a skin. You know, even if it's a duplicate of something I already have, at least you're getting a skin, right? Even the victory poses, right? The victory poses in Overwatch are really cool. You get a new one, you're like, oh, sweet, I can equip this one, and my guy will look different when, he's introduced or gets to play the game or whatever it is. With Quake, I don't know if it's... maybe I didn't spend enough time with it over the 2 weekends that I played it, but the unlocks over all the games and all the packs that I opened, I was not very impressed with what I was getting. So for me, it leaves no real incentive to keep playing, because I'm like, yeah, okay, I got like some shoulder pads that look a little bit different, but I guess that's cool. I don't know. The one thing I will say about the shaders is that I think it's cool that it looks different while you're in the game. I think that is a great addition. I think they should definitely hold up on that and keep supporting that idea. Because it feels like that first time you played an RPG, way back when, and you actually equipped armor and it changed the way your character looked. That was a great feeling. Now that they're doing that in FPS, I think that's a really cool approach to the unlocks. But I don't know, the stuff that I was unlocking, I just wasn't super excited about. I'd see it and go like, okay, yeah, it looks all right, I guess. There were a few cool things that I saw in there, but I think it's a little lame that it's hidden behind some sort of a currency or a loot box or whatever. It's almost like they know that their weapon models and stuff look a little generic because they have the ability to unlock the Quake 1 rocket launcher for the rocket launcher, so okay, that's cool. Or you can unlock the Quake 2 railgun, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but like, why aren't these just options right off the bat? Why can't I change what my railgun color looks like and what my gun models look like right off the bat? Give me some options, I know that they want you to go through and unlock it and have reason to do these things, but at the same time, it's like, if it's going to take me till level 20 to get the weapon model I want, that's way too much time for me to suck in, or for the game to suck out of me to get to that point. So it's not really something I'm looking forward to doing. So I guess where I'm going here, what is my ultimate verdict on this? A lot of the things that I'm mentioning here, I feel like half of them are sort of nitpicky, okay? They're not super duper important, like the weapon model color stuff. I feel it's important, but, the game can exist without that. But there's other things in it that I do really feel like needs tweaking, like the actual character ability stuff really needs to be looked at a little bit more and balanced a little bit more. I feel like the weapon models, I don't know, they're okay. Again, it's sort of a nitpick, sort of not. I feel like they do look a little bit generic. But ultimately, the unlocking stuff is what's really irritating. I know that's where we're at now in 2017, right? Like, you need cool unlocks to keep people going like, oh man, I gotta play right now so I can unlock this new hat or whatever, right? And the stuff that they're showing off in Quake Champions as unlockables just isn't doing it for me. So I feel like that needs to be tweaked too. I don't know if you need to level up faster and get more, crates to unlock these things. But if you see somebody else with really cool armor, and they happen to be like, level 50, and you're like, oh my god, I gotta play that much to get to that point, at some point you're gonna be kind of like, well, the game is fun, but I don't know that it's that fun, and I don't know how much time I'm actually gonna spend in this. When I play Overwatch, I have probably between 150 to 200 hours, somewhere in that range in that game, and because the game is so fun, and I know I'm gonna keep playing it over the years, that I want to unlock stuff because I know that I'm going to enjoy playing as the character with whatever skin. Where with Quake Champions, I'm not completely sold on it, and maybe that has a lot to do with it. But regardless, I think all of you should check out the open beta, give it a look, play around with the game, see if you like it, because I do think that the gameplay at the foundation is fun. There's just a bit of tweaking that needs to be done, a few things that need to change, maybe a few more heroes need to be added. Even though I remember, them saying something in an interview about how this game is not going to be about like constantly adding new heroes to the game, which I think is a big mistake. There's so many characters in the Quake universe that, how cool would it be if that in the future they added like, I don't know, like a playable Shambler or something like that? That's great. That's going to bring people to the game, But, what about the Doom guy? What if, in the future they're like, we finally brought the Doom guy to Quake Champions? Like, that would be so cool. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm very 50-50 back and forth on this. It's a fun game, needs some tweaking, needs some more work, but who knows? Maybe a year from now, it'll be a completely different game, and it'll be where it needs to be to actually be a game that I want to come back to constantly. Well, there you go. After that long, rambling piece, I got even more video for you. There happens to be a lot of trailers that were released since we last talked about Quake Champions last month. So we're going to go through all of these trailers and talk about them. So let's jump right into them. So the trailer that we left off with last time was Anarchy's trailer, and I guess id Software decided that they should release a gameplay trailer featuring some of Anarchy's moves here, because that's who the gameplay trailer actually showcases the player playing as here. There's the quad, pink quad, which, I don't know. I'm very color neutral when it comes to things, but pink for the quad? I don't know. Seems like a strange color pick for that. But I guess they're running out of colors because everything is colored here. If you look at all the weapon pickups and all the health and everything has a specific color. Though I guess health and whatever power-up that one is, those are both blue, actually, right there. But, you know, that's one thing that I'm actually not a big fan of with the game so far, is the colorization of things. I don't really like that the weapon models are colored like that. If they wanted sort of a hint of the color, but they're just like bright orange or bright red or whatever, or the railgun being bright green when you pick it up, it just doesn't do much for me. It makes the weapons look kind of chintzy, I guess? What's the word for it? Just, they come off as kind of weak looking. Once you're actually holding them, you know, the models look good, if not like a little bit generic. They almost look very Unreal inspired, if I had to say so. This railgun model that they're showcasing right here, I am not the biggest fan of that. But I do know that they're hiding behind a paywall the fact that you can unlock the Quake 1 rocket launcher, and you can unlock the Quake 2 and Quake 3 railguns, I believe. So if you want that original look, you're going to have to sort of work for it. Which kind of sucks. You know, it's where the microtransaction stuff comes into play, where you can open up boxes and buy, you know, whatever different currency to purchase these things. But there you go. That is the first gameplay trailer. Well, next up we have the trailer for Slash. Now, most of you are going to remember her from Quake 3. She is a comeback hero, which is pretty cool. Good to see more heroes coming back from the original game. First, you're going to see her plasma trail ability here. She creates a trail, and then she, you know, is able to hit a button, and then that trail shows up and it knocks down or kills anybody in its wake. Then she has a crouch ability where she can actually duck from bullets and everything, which, you know, totally changes her hitbox, which makes it really hard to hit her. From my experience playing against her in the game, she is one of the smaller characters, so she's a bit harder to keep track of and a bit harder to hit. But since everybody has varying health amounts, I guess that's where they're sort of trying to make up for that. Next up, we have the character trailer for Clutch. Now, Clutch is a character that I did not see hardly at all when I was playing through the beta, though I had very limited time with it, so what can I say? He has a barrier ability, which I think is really cool here. He could put this up and block himself from taking damage, and he could stand still and take things. Now, I was just about to say before that really cringeworthy scene right there where he says, "wrecked," which, ugh, boy. You know, I was really liking this character when I saw the trailer for it, because he's the first character in the game that seemingly is referring to his own character, his beliefs. You know, he's telling humans they need to die, they're not worth anything, the machines will take over, that kind of thing. So there's character development in what he's saying, but he still talks a lot, and then they add that internet lingo in there, and it just really, really cheapens it. Next up, we have the character trailer for Galena. Now, she has a couple of really interesting abilities. First is the Unholy Totem, which works as sort of a landmine, which you'll see here in a second. The thing that I don't like about it, though, is that it's basically going to be one of those things that everybody understands and knows as soon as they run into it the first time. So it's only going to get noobs, or it's going to get people who don't suspect it when they're going around a corner, as you see in the clip there. Her other ability here is really interesting. It's a healing totem, which is really, really cool. She throws that down, and I feel like that's going to be really, really helpful in any kind of a team game. Now, Galena actually continues the trend as, you know, Clutch started there, where the character development actually started working for me a little bit. All of her quotes and everything that she's saying seem to relate and really move with her character. They define who she is, and she seems like a real badass. And she doesn't have any internet lingo, at least in this trailer. So that is one thing where I was immediately like, okay, great, let's keep on that track. Now, next up, we actually have an arena trailer for Ruins of Sarnath. Now, I've played through quite a few matches on this map, and I actually really enjoyed it. I feel like it's got a great look to it. Love the giant eyeball, by the way. We've seen him in early trailers for Quake Champions, and he's always been a favorite of mine. Interesting that we don't have Orb to play as, but we do have a gigantic eyeball, so maybe that's a nod to Orb from Quake 3. We gotta have the running eyeball back, though, if everybody can get behind me on that. So yeah, this great, like, jungle ruins-looking map, I don't know, there's just something about it. It flows really well. Love the giant eyeball. The giant eyeball room sort of focuses around where the quad is here. As you can see, he's gonna pick this up, and he's gonna completely decimate all these people, as most of these trailers, you know, tend to show off. But I thought it was a great... Oh! The eye! But I thought it was a great little trailer, and I think it's a great map, too. So I think it very much complements the other two that are in there. The other two I found to be pretty run-of-the-mill, a little bit more generic. But this one, the Ruins map, it's out of the three, it's definitely the running favorite for me. Now, of course, the trailer that everybody's been waiting for, Ranger. Now, the interesting thing about Ranger is that when the closed beta started, for the 2 weekends that I was able to play, he's the only character in the game that I've actually played as. So it was fun playing as him. I'm not quite sure that I totally nailed his ability and how to use it, but Ranger also has, he's another one of those characters who actually has a little bit of a backstory. Obviously, he comes from Quake 1, but he has a line coming up that expresses his motivations through the arena here. I also thought it was strange that they don't really showcase his other ability, Son of the Gun, in this trailer, but just so you know, what it does is it actually nullifies 25% of self-damage, so he could rocket jump like crazy.
You can't keep me from getting home.
So that line right there, when he says, "You can't keep me from getting home," it shows that he actually has motivation to get home. Where's his home? We have no idea. We don't even know from the original Quake where he's actually from. We just know that he's there to eliminate, you know, Shub or whatever. But now that we know that he's trapped in the arena as well, we know that he is trying to get home. I don't know if he knows what he has to do to get home. I don't know if we know that. But regardless, he actually has motivation to do so, which is saying a lot, considering a lot of the other characters just seem like they're there to kill. And here we are with our last trailer for Visor. This one literally just came out. So he's got some interesting abilities with him. With his Visor, he has Piercing Shot, which when he activates it, he can actually see the outline of other characters around a little bit more easily. So it's sort of like, hey, you guys remember those wall hacks that people used to use, or probably still use in Quake, where they could see people through walls? Here you go. Here's a cheat for you. But Visor, I think, looks great in this game. I'm not so sure on his character motivation. Not really sure where he's going. What is, you know, I guess he's just into killing in this. I guess that's his whole thing. But it would have been, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it would have been nice if they attached a little bit of story behind who he is and what he's doing. Regardless, though, great looking character, some cool abilities, looks like a blast to play. Well, there you go, everybody. Those are all the Quake Champion trailers for this month. You know, I've already sort of summed up how I feel about this Quake Champions game that's coming out. I don't think it's bad, but it definitely needs some work. And as a free-to-play game, that's to be expected. You know, the game, when it's released, I don't know when it's coming out, whether it's this summer, this fall, whatever. When it does come out, but you got to figure a year into the future after it comes out, as long as it's still doing all right, it's still supported and everything, it could be a completely different game. I think that the abilities that are added into it definitely give you reason to be a little bit hesitant to get into it, just because I feel like there's still some balancing issues there, which I've covered already. And, you know, some of the character voice is still great on me, and there's still some weird things with character motivation. You know, it's 2017. I understand everybody's want to play Quake again, but with it being 2017, games have, you know, evolved so far. You know, we have 20 years of story evolution in video games, and I feel like this is something that they need to study a little bit more. Instead of, like, basically saying, like, hey, let's bring back Quake 3 and put some Overwatch stuff in it, you know, I don't know. I feel like it needs a little bit more than that. And I hope it gets to that point, because this could be something that's really good. The foundation is there. The game is fun to play. It just needs to be tweaked. It needs to be balanced. You know, things need to change as far as like the HUD and the color of the models and stuff like that. You know, if the necessary things are done, this could be a really, really remarkable and fun to play game. So there you go, everybody. I will see you next time on the Quake Rave.